Welcome, everybody. If you haven't been to a coffee with Waypoint and Friends before, let me let Christy in. If you haven't been to a coffee with Waypoint and Friends before, the impetus was of this whole series was we're all in this together. At the end of the day, we're all in it together. We're all serving our customers, whether you're a vendor. Oh, we're serving our senior living partners, and whether we're a digital marketing agency, whether we're a vendor serving and coming up with conversion tools and that sort of thing, or no matter who we are, the bottom line is we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to help you guys with your strategy. We're trying to all work together so you can meet your goals. So the whole impetus behind this was, hey, let's create something where we can all talk and bring things together with a more holistic approach to strategy versus us all being in our little pieces in our little silos. So that's how it started. And one of the things that I've always loved is thinking more about how do we take a fairly complex, probably one of the most complex sales that exists. How do we help these customers or consumers that are a mix of older adults and their families or support systems, and then create easy ways for them to start their search, which is already somewhat difficult for them, right? They may not know about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But how do we personalize this more and now, and then also in the future using AI? So Shannon came to mind because we partner with Shannon at Arrow Senior Living, and one of the things that they're super innovative about is, what does the data look like? What does it mean? Okay, we should change that. Let's change that wording. Okay, well, for this community, each community is different. So let's go ahead and change up what we're doing for this community, which is really exciting. So I really wanted to invite Shannon in today because I think that she'll bring a perspective for you as providers or operators. And also if you're with a digital marketing agency or whatever your role is, one of our, another vendor, is just give a different perspective on how to, I think, lay out your digital presence to help meet these consumers' needs. So anyways, that's just a little bit of background on Coffee with Waypoint. So we're super excited to have you here. We try to do one of these once a month, but primarily what we're going to do is just walk you through some slides. We don't want this to be kind of just the standard of it, but we do need to get through some content, and then what we really want to do is open it up for discussion and of course answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to walk through. Oh, we got Joe coming in. We'll bring Joe in. So first and foremost, I think we put the challenges first, but I think what we really want to do is introduce ourselves first. Let me move that. I'll go back to that. Where did my introduction slide go? Hold on. What did I do? I must have changed the orders. Hold on. Let me just go ahead. So I'll introduce myself first and I'll pass it over to Shannon. So my name's Terry Sullivan. I am a co-founder at Waypoint. Really where we focus, and I'll tell you a little bit about the company so it brings some credibility, is to help senior living providers fill your sales funnel, engage prospects, and just meet your goals around occupancy. I've been in senior living for over 15 years, mainly in sales my entire career. I've always been passionate about sales. I feel like the world doesn't go around if you don't have some folks out there selling, and it's extremely respectable profession. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I started a technology company back in 2017. A little bit personal about me, I love to sail, I love to ski, but we race and we cruise. It is the place where I find my peace. So we try to do as much sailing as we can on the Connecticut coast and in Massachusetts. And then we also race, which is competitive and fun, not stress-free, but a lot of fun anyways. But I'll turn it over to Shannon, and Shannon can give a little intro to herself.
I just learned a lot, and I do not feel like I really beefed my slide up appropriately for this. I'm Shannon Novak. I'm the Senior Managing Director of Marketing at Arrow. I've been with Arrow and in senior living for a little over 6 years. I started as a new development assistant and have just climbed since then and explored all the different options and avenues to find my current seat, and I'm loving it here. So in that climb, I've done a lot with internal marketing as well as the external marketing, built a social media presence because, as we'll talk about later, just a few years ago, it was a lot easier to be much lazier about social media. So our presence was, I'm going to say, lackluster at best. And then I've helped with a lot of work, which goes into internal marketing, of building our culture and what we call traditions, which is essentially, we all grow up with traditions. We all grow up with our culture. This is, what do our traditions as a company look like, and how do we embrace everybody within that so that we are creating true inclusive communities. Much, a lot less fun fact in comparison to what Terry shared, but I was definitely a hire for heart, train for skill. I was one of the many children of the world who was very certain they were going to become a veterinarian. And then when it came time to apply for veterinary school, I was like, I think I've been wrong this whole time. So my whole background was, though, in working in veterinary medicine, grooming, that kind of stuff. So learned senior living fresh.
That's fun. That's great. And she's dynamic and fun too. I can say that.
Very
Uh,
excited about myself.
so for today, what we really want to focus on is a few things. One is, the whole theme is personalizing website experiences, but I think we have to step back and look at the challenges that providers are facing right now, or operators are facing, right? Higher costs, lower margins. Consumers have changed so much over the past 4 or 5 years, and I think we're all trying to catch up, trying to see what works, trying to figure it out, especially in such a complex sale as senior living, right? It's so different than anything else. And then for operators, they really must improve their ROI and their investments, that sort of thing. And when I met with Shannon I think we met Monday, to kind of just review this and look at talking points, because we really wanted to be more discussion. She had come at it from a marketer's perspective. And Shannon, why don't you just talk a little bit about these two things, needing optimization and making your life easier, as part of the challenges that marketers are facing right now in senior living.
Yeah, so I referenced it, as you'll see as we progress, as the tools we use for our sanity, because again, just a few years ago, it was such a different landscape and we were operating such a different way. And we are so much more online. People are coming to us from so many more directions. And while we may have more people than we once did, there's still just never enough people to be able to reach and create those connections in all of the directions from all the places people are coming from. And so Waypoint is one of my tools for sanity. They help us bring people into our funnel, so that it is not just specifically man or woman power trying to run around and be everywhere all at once, when we really cannot be everywhere all at once.
Which really leads to this, right?
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
lot going on in your world.
Yes.
There's a ton
Yes.
going on in your world. And I put this slide together because I was like, even as a partner of senior living providers, I think to myself, oh my gosh, these consumers are coming to all your digital marketing channels. And there's all of these things that you guys are juggling. Surveys, you might have live chat, you may have an AI chat bot, you got your phone number, you got landing pages, you got email automations that are going on, you got all this stuff going on, including pre and post tour surveys and all kinds of stuff. So I thought this was a good picture to show
Yep.
that. So, it goes to your point, Shannon, is that there's a lot going on in your world. And I'm just a small piece of that, but I'm part of it. And your digital marketing agency is a piece of that and a part of that. Right. So I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have on this part too.
This part's funny because, I mean, again, and we're looking at it, 6 years ago, we didn't even have tracking phone numbers. Does that put us behind? It might, but maybe it doesn't. We definitely didn't have anything scheduling our tours for us. People had to call or come by, which I know that if my options to do something involved calling or going by, it would basically mean I'm never doing it at this point. And, we didn't have forms. We didn't have these, like, all of these things are essentially new to at least us in the last 5 years. And so it is just growing, and I don't, what's going to be next. And so part of, yes, Waypoint is a small portion of what we do, but one of the amazing things about Waypoint is that they are helping us bring so many of these pieces together, in an easier to manage spot. Because if you're thinking about your data, you're thinking about all the measurables you have to look at for each of these different things. That's a full-time job for one person by itself, is just trying to find your data from 15 different locations. And so having something like Waypoint, a service that kind of helps you pull it together, is really useful. Again, for sanity's sake.
So I think um I think it's important from a credibility perspective, if you haven't been introduced to both of our companies, that you understand a little bit more about the companies, our companies ourselves, where we come from. And the reason we're putting this together is because we've learned a lot of data. We've learned a lot of use cases. We've learned a lot of things by working super closely with people like Shannon and her team and Arrow. And so it's important they understand who we are, not from just a sales perspective, but also from a credibility perspective. So we at Waypoint, what we focus on is prospect engagement and lead capture for our customers, whether it's a landing page, a website, whether it's a pre or post tour survey. We have a website assistant that is customizable, that you can put any call to actions on. We have digital forms that are customizable, including a tour scheduler. We have a lifestyle quiz that some of our customers use, and many of our customers tell us that they're some of the highest quality leads that they get and convert more into sales, because the prospect is willing to share information and data, which is really great. We also integrate live chat into our product, do pre and post tours, and I'm moving through this fast because I don't want this to be all of our focus. We also have a recruitment solution. So as you work closely with your partners to say, what are the other challenges that you have? Well, staffing is a big challenge. So we actually built a version of our navigator that's for staffing, which is really, really important. And then we are releasing right now and testing a new AI powered sales assistant that is powered by ChatGPT 4.0 large language model. It's fully conversational, and it is gated to each individual senior living community. So we're really excited about this because we've been waiting to develop something that's more meaningful for senior living, and it isn't pushing somebody down the sales funnel, but actually educating them and then guiding them into the sales funnel. So we're super excited about that. And we also work with Site Staff and Rubric and Threshold 360 and integrate that into our product. We really believe that we have to be kind of a Zapier of senior living. Our customers have products and tools that they love, so we need to be able to incorporate them. We're not in a silo. And I think the other thing is integrations. Your data is so critical. So for us, it's really important that we get data into your GA4, but we get it into your CRMs or your marketing automation platforms and make it easy as pie for you to get that data, so you can pull your reports wherever you want to. So we're really focused on empowering not only your prospects that visit your website, no matter where they are, to engage with your brand and convert into your sales funnel, but also maximizing that real estate that you have on the website. If you only put live chat, if you only put a downloaded brochure, if you only put a chat bot, then you're not really giving consumers choices. And that's kind of where our philosophy sits. So anyways, that's what we do. And I'm going to turn it over to Shannon, so she can tell you a little bit about more Arrow and what they focus on. So that would be great.
All right. Yeah, so Arrow Senior Living, we were bored. I stole this, I put this wording in specifically because if you ever visit our site, we have a little video that's our introduction video, where we are called a ragtag group of scalawags and roughabouts. And that was where we started, because Arrow started as turnaround solutions. And it was essentially that. It was a group of people who were traveling from one community to the next. They lived on site and they turned struggling communities around. And so that gave our core team, a huge chunk of which are still with us and build up our C-suite, and many of our levels of our of Arrow are still consisting of those same people. But it gave a really unique perspective from the CEO level throughout of, this is what it's like inside this community. This is what people need. This is what they're asking about. This is who the people actually are, more than what the paper and the data say. And so from that, because our CEO was in law school and randomly decided to start a senior living community, as a lot, or a management company, as so many law students do. And so she pulled in at the time the people she knew that she thought could really help her with her vision. And so that helped us develop we believe in hiring for heart and training for skill. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we don't even pull people from senior living to work for us because we want people to come in fresh and with a broader range of viewpoints and experiences to help really build something, because we are focusing on dignity and aging, and we want our residents to thrive and have options and opportunities and just be their best selves, living their best lives. And so we are based out of St. Charles, Missouri. We have 45-ish communities. I always have a debate with myself about one of them, if it's combined or if they're separate, but that's my problem. And we do continuum of care. So we've got some independent living, some all three. We've got villas, we've got assisted living, memory care. So
Awesome. That's awesome. I've seen Stephanie speak. She's a great speaker, and she's definitely innovative.
yeah,
Think about
she's
jumping
still,
from school into running senior living provider, being an operator, that's a pretty big jump. So
yeah, she
yeah,
is pretty amazing. I think even, working for 6 years, I'm
yeah,
still a little bit like, I see her in like Angels Sing. I'm just in awe of like her brain and the way it works. And she still calls herself a disruptor and loves continuing to be disruptive in the industry. So that's,
yeah. Peggy and I had the pleasure of meeting her, and I think Philadelphia, I think it was. All right, so for today, a few takeaways. We want to talk to you about meeting you where your website visitors are. Not everybody's in the same place in their search, right? And then so how do you help them? How do you, no matter where they are on the funnel, how do you help them through? We also want to encourage, I always believe that when you attend one of these, maybe one thing sticks and then you walk away from it. But we want to help you kind of think outside the box when you're planning your conversion strategies and thinking about not just your website, but your landing pages in other channels. And walk away with the understanding or have some tips on not all communities, not every two communities the same. So we want to kind of talk you through that and how the data shows what works for one may not work for another. And then how can you go ahead and optimize that? And then we've just talked about this collaboration with your vendor partners is so important. I mean, it's really about getting to know them, giving us the opportunity to help you solve problems and understand what your biggest challenges are so we can continue to bring solutions back to you that kind of consolidate so you can have more things from one vendor partner in your tool bag. And Shannon mentioned also analytics, right? Knowing what's working and what's not working is really important. And you've got a CRM, you got marketing automation, or you might have a marketing automation platform like Active Demand, right? And then you have your tools and your conversion tools. So there's a lot going on there. So that's our goal today, and it's open format. Feel free to unmute. If you have any questions, throw them into the Zoom chat. Peggy's going to monitor that. So if you guys have any questions, we can go ahead and answer those questions as we go. So don't feel like you have to wait to the end to ask a question. So we're going to ask a few questions, and I want you to just open up your chat and pop in, what department are you in? Are you in sales, operations, marketing, finance? Maybe you could even put, if you're with the digital marketing agency. So if you guys could just pop so we know who's in the audience, that would be super helpful. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Don't be shy.
Stephanie, digital marketing agency, client success.
Great. We shied today. There we go.
Lauren, digital marketing tech.
Okay.
Aramis Black, management.
Great. Thank you, Aramis.
Krista, regional director of sales and marketing for coordinated services. Yay, Krista.
CSM. Great. Awesome. Cool. All right. And then we have another question for you guys. Do you guys think senior living is behind the curve? Oh, you want to go ahead, Peggy? There's a couple more that came in.
Yep. Heidi, website designer. Joe, digital marketing, director of technology.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you all.
Yeah. And raise of hands or just a quick yes or no. Do you think senior living is behind the curve on adopting innovation and technologies and marketing? Shannon, you guys want to pop that in?
Yep. Lauren, SL is very behind the curve. Michael, yes. Joe, in general, yes. Stephanie, yes. Krista, yes, with an exclamation point. Jason, way behind, exclamation point.
Okay, good to know. So we're all in the same curve here. And is there anyone here on this webinar who thinks they have all the people and tools you need to do your job? That's kind of tongue in cheek there. We were kind of playing with that, but Shannon really has some thoughts on this. Go ahead, Shannon.
Jason, not even close.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
there's
Michael, no.
just, I mean, for me, yeah, it's never enough because you're trying to reach so many people in so many places in so many ways. And that has grown much faster than the ability to hire has grown. And,
Yeah.
yeah, tools have become, I'm reiterating, but the number of tools we used 5 years ago to the number of tools we use now just to stay basically at the same level of functionality is crazy, and also very cool because the tools luckily already existed since we're all behind the curve anyway. So they were
Yeah.
out there waiting for us to get there.
Just a matter of molding them a little bit
Yeah.
for senior living, right?
Exactly.
So, a lot of the theme here is meeting your website visitors where they are. So in senior living, whether you're an agency supporting them or the senior living provider themselves, in many cases, it may be the first time that anybody's ever investigated senior living, right? It is a unique sale all around. It's a complex sale. It's a high ticket sale. It's emotional sale, all of that good stuff. And then each of those people might be in a different phase of their senior living search process. And it's often emotionally charged, which will show you some statistics here. But also on the job seeker side, I mean, we've experimented with many customers using the navigator to help with career or job seekers. And at the end of the day, there may be language issues. Folks that are applying for front level or jobs that they may not be comfortable with the English language or even using technology. So how do we make it more comfortable for those users as well? So I don't know, Shannon, if you wanted to add anything in here. I think you had some thoughts on this.
I always have lots of thoughts. One of the things I want to say first that is just like it's been rattling around my brain a lot is the fact that we are in an environment that is unique in the fact that in what other industry are you selling a product that has a negative stigma attached to it from the beginning? So we are not only every day working through the fact that people don't know what senior living is. They still think it's a place you're going to just go and die and life is going to be depressing. And then you're battling that mental state with the process and the difficulties that come with aging and realizing that you can't do everything that you could do and you really might need help, to battling the family dynamics that come with it. And so like this is one of the most unique and difficult industries because you're not just buying a pair of pants and you're deciding if you like the decoration on the pocket or the rise. Like you're battling an entire emotional 360 emotional experience attached to negative stigma attached to it. And that not only for our prospects, but it trickles down to the people looking for jobs because as our COO has been saying, senior living isn't sexy. She said that the whole time she's been in the industry. And so a lot of times when you're looking for that specific right person that has the heart for this work, because, a lot of times like there aren't a lot of 16, 17, 18-year-olds looking for their first job that are like, I'm going to work in senior living and be a server or, a care partner or it doesn't appeal. And so, we're working through a lot of things on the back end with the added layer of trying to figure out where the people who are coming in are and how do we communicate with them in a way to show that we are different than what history has told you.
Yeah, there's definitely that whole industry stigma that's attached to it for sure. I mean, that is a challenge for the industry as a whole. Very interesting.
Stephanie commented that negative stigma paired with so many regulations and confidentiality requirements.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Good comment.
Yeah, really good comment. Shannon, you want me to go through this or do you want to go through this?
I can go through it. So if we're looking, just within the last few years, we're talking about being behind the curve. So prior to COVID, we had a very different consumer than we have today. There's more access to choices. There are more choices in general. People are a lot more online, which increases how educated they are on all of it. They don't like, no one wants to feel pushed with an emotional, I mean, this has always been true, but no one wants to be pushed when you're making an emotional decision. And so you've got to navigate that. We've got people who want to go on their own journey a lot more often, and they want to have an opportunity to go on that without someone bothering them until they're ready to talk to somebody. And because you have so many more choices, though, you've also got to look at the fact that, one, you have to capture people immediately because our attention spans have gone way down here. But you've also got to find a way to speak to them in the way they want to be spoken to, on the platform they want to be spoken to on. And so you've got to find a way to create a personalized experience for an entire world of people you've never met.
No challenge there.
Yeah, it's super easy. It's actually probably one of the easiest jobs you could do. And then, yeah, you're facing people who are starting their journey, and they, again, come with all of this stigma attached. And so you've got to speak to them in a way that they understand what it is without, talking down to anyone, and capturing them quickly. And then we are facing starting the search earlier and looking longer. On average, we spend 100 or 90 to 120 hours helping a family make the decision to move. That's each person moving into a community. And if a prospect doesn't close within 30 to 60 days, which usually, not always, but a lot of times, the prospects, the future residents closing that early, are in some kind of crisis. And if you're not closing, then we're averaging 320 days to close someone if they aren't closing in that first month or two. And so they are starting the search earlier and looking longer. Cassie tells a story of a lady that moved in. I think she lived with us for over a decade once she finally moved, but it was a 2 or 3 year marathon lead because she started the process, but she wasn't there yet. And they just kept the communication going, and eventually she moved in and lived with us a very, very long time. Honestly, might still live with us, but and then, yeah, you're also battling all the levels of technology comfort that exist in the world. From, I lead virtual trivia. I got a text on Tuesday from one of our residents who wants to know what my topics are going to be. She logs in her own apartment and she joins a lot of virtual events. We've got other prospects who may have a flip phone, or residents who may have a flip phone at best.
Yeah.
And then that's going into language barriers. So yeah,
you have to meet all of this on your digital door, basically your digital doorstep, right?
Yep. And all of that. Yeah. Cause that's where people start looking now, is online. And so you have to address all of that in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy. Honestly, super simple.
I have one partner, Marquee Health, Natalie, who talks about all of the digital pieces of their puzzle as being the front door to the centers. They call them centers, before there's actually a physical or a communication touch with a real person. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it, right? Because if they don't open the front door and come in, you've lost them off your website, and you'll never get them in the center, right? That's what we really want. But I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
We actually look at it one step farther back. So we made a coloring book because we do weird stuff like that. And it represents all of the different jobs in senior living. And our sales team is outside the house. So we have our sales team there, and that goes same with our website, our digital marketing. They're outside just trying to get you to even walk to the door.
Interesting. Move the sales from inside the door to outside the door.
Yep. Sales lives outside in all the weather.
This doesn't feel right. I don't know. Oh, that's awesome. I pulled this off of Nexus Insights. Many of you might know Bob Kramer, who was the founder of NIC, National Investment Centers, Senior Housing. And I just thought it was interesting to share, if you haven't seen it, is that We know that most people are doing their search online. And we do know that most of them, 90% of them, are looking for financial information. So when you're thinking about your CTAs and how you convert people or how you greet them on your website, cost is very much always at the top of the list. So I'm not saying you have to give your pricing or you need to give your pricing, but at the end of the day, offering some type of conversion mechanism where people can get pricing or talk to an advisor about pricing is really key. They also, Bob also found that 50% of them do feel some level of anxiety, which just makes it even that more challenging, right? It's emotionally charged when people start looking for this service. So I think it's even more important that you offer up choices and you make it super easy for people to get information about your communities and what you do. And I think that's really key. And then this one, I really struggled with this one, 10% have confidence, only 10% have confidence in the quality of the information that's online on websites. I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, that makes it even that much more, drives it even much more forward, that they don't necessarily trust everything they see. So how is it that you build trust with these consumers? So I just wanted to share this out as some information that's been industry distributed. So, but go ahead.
And I mean, it's logical if you're thinking about it, because what social media has taught us is that you only put your best foot forward. No one is, and so you're going to get a snapshot of the best day when you're looking online. And,
Yeah.
there's been a divide in what exists, and there's, the rise of fake news, and so everything is always got to be taken with a grain of salt now. We've kind of created a much more cynical society than we had before the entirety of all information was available online.
It's true. The filters, I mean, you really do need to filter through everything. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
that's some really interesting stats to share with everyone. But I mean, this is really important too. I mean, as operators, you've all changed, or our customers have changed. And Shannon, you referred to this, which is the pandemic really forced a big jump forward. Maybe not as forward as maybe some other industries are. But it definitely forced this industry to move really away from sandwich boards and balloons. And I don't mean that as a put down, but the open house signs, when we first started in the business and working, that was a big deal, right? Open houses, they'd put a sign out front, and balloons, and in combination with print and all kinds of other things. It's definitely moved forward. And then I think what we've learned as vendor partners in the space is that some providers are more forward than others. Joe's on today, Casper with SRI Management. They really want to track every piece of data they can. They want to know where a lead came from. They want to pass that through their conversion tools, pass that into their CRM, pass everything to GA4. And it's really forced us as vendor partners to really think about how we work together and how we get that data to where it needs to go, so they know what's working the best it can. And then there are others that aren't using anything right now but the traditional call to actions. And then there are others that are using, a combination of things. So I think we see a wide variety of tech use on the digital front door space. Do you agree with that, Shannon? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what you were saying about the balloons and sandwich boards, it's gotten more complex in that it's all of it now.
Yeah.
So we still have balloons and sandwich boards out. You'll still see a billboard here and there, a radio ad and direct mail, but also you've got to speak there online, and then you've got so many tools, you've got so much data, you've got so much stuff coming together. That on the one hand, the data is great if you don't get lost in it, because you can get lost in it. So you've got to pick out what is the right data. You've got to, like, it used to be able to be like, well, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. Well, now you can look, when you're doing well or when you're not doing well. And so we've become so much more reliant on that ROI and making sure that we're maximizing, because you can't ignore it anymore. So it's harder and easier. And then, yeah, the complexity of the people because of information availability has increased. And then the fact, which I don't think I might be getting ahead of myself, but taking all of your vendors and make sure they can talk to each other.
Mhm.
We've got to have that too, because we used to have a couple, you got a couple vendors, they do very different things. Yesterday I was in an email thread, we had an issue pop up and we had our teams on it. We had 3 vendors on it solving the problem together, and
Yeah.
getting to watch that and see them solve it without us. I mean, not without us, we were in it, but like essentially they're, well, I think it's you. No, I think it's this. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, I found it. I knew it was like just watching that collaboration between our vendors come together was such a cool moment, which again, I'm totally jumping ahead, but I just thought about it.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
and so it, we've everything has gotten more complex. 6 years ago, I don't think I would have had an email thread with 3 vendors and 2 teams working together to solve a problem.
Yeah, it's a cool place to be. I like
It
it.
was a very
That's why
cool
we
place to
started
be.
this, because we loved the fact that
Yeah,
we're with
it
other.
was like, it made my heart feel so happy just to see like that
Yeah.
get solved in real time in front of me,
Well, if you
because we have
become an
awesome partners.
if you become an extension of the team in the problem solving piece, I think on the last slide, that was it. It was like, finding vendors that are willing to understand what your problems are, right? And then work with others together is really key. Bless you, whoever that was. Great. So we ran through this. I think on the last point, all I want to say is I met with the CFO this week at a provider, at an operator, and they're looking at everything. They're looking at consolidation. They're looking at how do they decrease the number of tools they're using. How do they optimize them? And I think this is really key for all of us, even the digital marketing agencies that are on today, is that we have to figure out ways that we can help them consolidate and reduce their costs or reduce their combined tools, or make sure that those tools work together to get more bang for their buck. So I think that's really been a lot on, and he drove it home. And that's why I'm mentioning it. He drove it home, but we had a really good conversation around that. So it's really important. And Shannon, when we talked on Tuesday, you said something to me that kind of stuck with me. And you said, yeah, it's really great that we can get prospects and job seekers off of our digital media or through our print or whatever the channels are that you're doing. But at the end of the day, there needs to be value on the operator side. And that is having the data, understanding how it works, understanding what's optimizing. But I'd love you, if you could, to kind of just take off a little on that and talk a bit more about it, because you're the one who created this graphic in my mind. So I created the graphic. So, but if you could talk a little bit from a operator's perspective.
So and redirect me if my brain is like wandering in different direction, because I'm thinking one way. So, our online experience or our online presence, it's creating all of those touch points to actually pull people into this funnel that exists for us, because you've got, I think the internet says you've got to have at least 12 touch points to make a sale. It might be 7. I don't know. I saw 2 different numbers and they could all be fake, but,
I think
10%.
living, I think it may be even higher.
Yeah, that's why I was reading. I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so all of these experiences are really just creating like that one more nudge to get someone to actually get into the funnel. So, they come onto our website and they ask what our cost is. They're not in a funnel yet. They've just asked what the cost is, but they're thinking about it. And then, if that moves on and they've done that and they've interacted there, and then we target them with a digital ad, we haven't gotten them in yet. They're thinking about it, but now they've seen us twice. If they go check out our social media and then they're seeing that, or if TikTok is just another version of social media, but they see what we're posting, or it's a job seeker and they find our TikTok, or if it's like we're just creating a ton of different ways that are just helping us hit those touch points before they get into our funnel, so that by the time they're actually getting into the funnel, 1, they're way more informed, and 2, they're in the funnel. The touch points to get them in have already been done by our various partners, so that when they get there, they're really ready to talk to us and they're really prepared, and we didn't have to run out physically ourselves and go create all of those moments. We've got partners who are doing that for us. We've got partners who, if a lead goes cold, they're going to nurture them in the background to see either they're gone or we bring them back in. And it's a long, I mean, it at 90 to 120 hours. It's a long process. And so how are we utilizing our partners to help that process be easier? And then what data do we need to actually function? Because we can get, like I said, you can get lost in reading your data because you can go down rabbit holes for days of what did they see? What did they do? How did they convert? But what did that mean? Like data can go on forever. And so you've got to balance the information you're getting and the journey for your prospect to create like balance, because you can get lost on one side or the other and be like, oh my gosh, all this data is great. And you lose track of the fact that, well, yeah, but it's not converting anybody. Like you just have a bunch of data, but you don't have a tool that's helping. And so you're finding that tool that's helping, giving you the good data and helping it all come together so that you're not just lost.
Yeah, we're seeing a variety of people that we're talking to in the industry. Some are using products like Looker and Tableau and others to try to bring together more of their data to make sense of it. But the majority of partners that we work with, they really look to us. So when we meet with them once a month, we go through the analytics, and before we even meet, we look at it and say, well, maybe we could improve here. So maybe we need to change the language on this button, or we need to, because 6,600 people went to the floor plans and pricing page, maybe we should be looking at adding some other enticing CTA, a small navigator or something on that page in order to get those converted into the sales funnel, because we know where they're going, right? It's that whole journey thing. But I think the data piece of it is really hard for operators, because we try to capture as much data as we can to show that our tools are converting at the right rates, our completions are good, right? We can continue to tweak and look good for our customers, but we're one piece of the big puzzle. So I think it still goes down to that conversations about integrations. Like we have an advanced integration with Welcome Home, right? Everything gets sent in there. We do touch points. We don't come in as the lead source. Facebook comes in as the lead source. Or, if it was organic and it came through the website, it comes through as an organic lead. We're just a touch point that once they get to that website from that organic search, oh, they've used the lifestyle quiz to convert in. Oh, they've scheduled a tour or whatever it might be. So it's just really interesting to see the way it's a wide swath, right?
Yeah.
So our partners really depend on us to take the data and say, this is what we see. This is what we would change, because you just can't possibly keep your eyes on everything, right? So
No, it is so refreshing. Sorry, I got excitable. It is so refreshing every month when I meet with Peggy and she's like, here is your important data. And this is what and then we just talk through it, and she's already pulled together. And one of the first questions, we're Welcome Home users. One of our first questions when we find a partner is, do you integrate with Welcome Home?
Yeah.
Because we want our sales teams to focus on what they need to do, which is all those 400 things that result in someone moving in.
Yeah.
And we don't want them, I don't want our sales teams going to 16 dashboards. I want everything they need to feed into Welcome Home so they can go look and they can find out everything that this person has provided to this point. Because we need their jobs to be easier. We need them to have as much sanity as possible. And you've got to have partners that help you create sanity.
As an entrepreneur, I can tell you it's really easy to get stuck in your own little world, right? Because you're super proud of everything you built, right? And you can get really caught in it. But the reality is we're just a spoke in the big wheel, and that the big wheel has to work together. And I think over the past year, that's been a big learning for us in partnering to understand our clients more and what needs to go where. And we've really worked hard at it. I think we were the first advanced integration with Welcome Home with Joe Casper and SRI that's on this call right now. It really was a lot, but there was a lot to think about. There was a lot, but again, going back to that thing, finding the right partners, making sure you get your information and your data, and then empowering. At the end, we're all in it together, and we're all in it to make you look good. So that's what we should be focused on, right? It makes total sense. I go off on a tangent. Anyways,
I love it.
This is a big piece. of what we do as far as taking the data and then trying to amend based on what we learned from the data. Shannon, if you could, I know Hudson Grand is one of your communities that you think about a lot as different. Can you just talk about what you run into, that each one of your communities are different regionally, blah, 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 and how you approach that, how you think about that with data?
Yeah. So, I mean, we operate across the Midwest, so we're localized in one sense, like we're across a certain state or range of states for the most part. But even within that, um, every community, like every person is different. They have essentially different personalities. They've got different people who work there. They've got, a different physical aesthetic to the building, and that trickles all the way down. So, Hudson is one that I talked to Peggy a lot about, because some of the tools that work even for Kent Ridge, which is down the road, or for Stowe that's down the road, the tools or the things that work for Stowe don't work for Hudson. The things that work for Kent don't work for either one. And that trickles down all the way to the language we're using. So a lot of times, like you're looking at this here, on a lot of our other communities, that second button is going to say schedule a tour. And that second button works great on some of like a chunk of our communities, because they're there and that's what they're ready for. Obviously the first button is everybody's favorite button, but
Yeah, the analytics, I did pull some of your analytics to share with everyone. I hope that's okay.
That's what everyone, what's this going to cost me? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've started personalizing to try to reach people where they are. And that goes, again, it goes down to the wording. And so instead of schedule a tour, we're trying out join us for lunch in a handful of buildings to see, well, what does that do? And we'll run that trial for a few months. And if that's still not working, then we'll try something else. But, one of the great things is, I talked to Peggy on Tuesday, I think Tuesday afternoon, she's like, hey, I got that button switched on all of your communities. Like it took, I'm going to say it was super simple, but mostly because I didn't have to do it, but it was at least quick. And there was definitely a time in technology when you're asking that question, it's like, well, we'll have that updated in a week, or we'll get back to you. We have to see if we can do that. Or, and we've reached a point and found a partner that it's like, yeah, I love that idea. Let's knock it out. We'll get it done today.
Two thoughts behind that. One is, you could go in the back end and make any changes you want. But I'm going to leave that one behind.
We need Peggy. Okay. There's a reason. We're very dependent on her.
I'm sorry. The second thing is just for everybody in the audience too, is just to give you a really wonderful example of in skilled nursing, not just in senior living, because I know some of you folks also may serve skilled nursing providers. We had one customer, and Peggy worked with the client on this one. And basically what was happening is we thought, well, we could apply some of the thinking of senior living into skilled nursing. And we did a pilot, and it was great. We created leads on the website. We learned a ton from it. But what we learned is that people were absolutely at the bottom of the funnel. They're going there. They need help, and they need it now. And there's no messing around. So how do we get them into admissions faster? So Peggy changed the button name, just the button name, from get admissions ready to get help now. And it literally increased conversions by 50% that week. So you really, it just goes back to thinking about personalizing website experiences. Where are your customers? What are their needs? And then how do you bring them along into the sales funnel? So, I mean, that's really a key piece. So look for vendors that allow you to do a little bit of customization. That's not really hard, that they can do on the fly, that are willing to sit down with you and look at your data. And I'll show you some analytics on what's working and what's not working, and then make changes accordingly. The data should always drive optimization. It should be key. And then we've already talked about this. We've driven vendor partners up, and then easy updates and changes. I mean, you can't, if you have the same vanilla on every single website without any ability to customize it or change it, then you're in a situation where you can't optimize to make it better. And I think that's really, really key. But here's some of the data, and if it's okay, Shannon, I'll just walk through since we know the dashboard, but and feel free to make any comments. But at any point in time, you should be able to know. We have Arrow uses some of our forms And they also use our navigator, but being able to measure what's working and not working is what's key here. It's not what she's using, but what's working. At the end of the day here, you can see that her form completion rate is 73% and our average is 38% across our customers. So the form completion rate's off the charts. And you can see the number of completed forms and you can see what's working or not working. And very often in these reports, you can also see the amount of money that they're putting into pay-per-click efforts or in advertising, because you'll actually see spikes or dips based on August. We often see a dip, it's vacation time, right? You start to see these trends within it. And I'll go quickly and then Shannon, you can talk to this a little bit more, but it's also important that you know at a form level how they're performing. And if they're not performing well, change up the form. To her point, join us for lunch. Is that going to resonate more with someone than, scheduling a tour right away? And then be able to see where the drop-offs are, right? And this is more about analytics, not more about waypoint, but it's really important that you have the data so you can see what's working and what's not working, and that you can optimize the amount of money that you're spending, where you're spending it, right? And how it's working for you. And then the last one I'll share is, you want to know what call to actions are converting and not converting, right? What are people clicking on? Where are they going? Look at request pricing. There's no mistake that 9,000 people clicked on the request pricing button and they clicked on it multiple times because there were 6,300 unique users, right? So it's really about understanding where they are and then how are they engaging with your website, and at a community level, not just an enterprise level, to be able to see what's not working and what's working. And I think that's really key. But anyways, I'll be quiet now, Zip. And Shannon, I wanted to drop these in because I think they were really important to show each vendor may have their own dashboards, but it does bring a picture together.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. And a lot of times they all flow together because, this also, like, we have HubSpot forms and that feeds into this. There's a rubric partnership. It
Mhm.
feeds into this. And again, with the wording, like schedule a tour feels really intense. Eating lunch, everybody loves lunch. And it decreases that. And so like schedule a tour is one of the lower ones, obviously, because if you schedule a tour, you're serious. And so, yeah, we're looking at opportunities for how do we increase that? How do we fix it? And this is such an easy, like, it's so nice and it's pretty colors and it's easy to look at and easy to digest. And so, as you know, because we're relying on Peggy to change our wording, we want something that is easy and quick to digest because there's a lot going on in it every day. And having that partner that's going to be like, yes, I can change this for you and I can do it now, is vital in the grand scheme. Because if it had been like, okay, we can go change that, there's a decent chance we wouldn't have it changed yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of the beautiful things is that they are all working together. Because we work with Welcome Home, we work with HubSpot, we work with site staff, we work with Rubric, and we know that they are all going to function together and they're all going to spit out data that works together, and it's going to make things so much quicker to digest. And
I
then,
think
yeah,
also the ROI is really key. You're investing in every single one of these platforms. And I
yes.
know with, like, for example, HubSpot, I'm sorry, Rubric is, we did a couple of tests with some clients and we saw that we could increase conversions by 47% simply by putting Rubric on the navigator. And I think at the end of the day, that's another workflow. That's another data point, right? That says, if you're going to spend I don't know, it's probably $175 or $200 a month, whatever Rubric is, and investing in that per community per month, you want to get as much optimization out of that content delivery that it delivers to the client, to the potential customers, as well as the experience of them experiencing your brand. Sorry to say that twice, but also converting into your sales funnel. You want to optimize that, right? And it's the same with site staff. If you only put live chat on your website as site staff and you don't offer any other call to actions for them to convert in an easy way with pretty colors and super easy, because of the type of audience we serve, you get better ROI and offer the consumers more ways that they're comfortable with. Let's take ourselves out of the pictures. What are the consumers interested in engaging with? And I think that's really key. You can never take away the complexity of the sale or who we serve. You know, it's really interesting. But anyways, again, I went on a tangent. Sorry.
No,
No
tangents
passion
is
there.
all I've been running in, but it brings it home. We're providing options because if someone's coming to our website and they don't find what they want in the first 20 seconds, they're going to go to a different website.
Yeah, it's a good
And
point.
they're never even going to get near the top of the funnel, let alone fall into it. And so, you know, creating opportunities, making sure each opportunity functions, making sure they can all talk to each other. It's the best way to take something that is highly complex and requires so much thought and so much adjustment and making it just a little bit easier.
You know, we covered a lot here, but I think that the core components of creating personalized experiences is finding partners that are flexible enough to help you do this. Your landing pages, your website, making it easy, giving them options, meeting them where they are in the sales funnel. Not everybody's going to be ready to book a tour. I know we want everyone to book a tour, but that's not in reality of where people are. So you have to give them options and ways to engage and convert, experience your brand. And you know, the future that's coming, which is really exciting, is really what is AI going to do, right? How is AI going to influence this industry? And I think it'll be in a way that the AI assistant will become, this is our vision for it anyways, and I hope this vision is what comes true, is that the AI assistant will become an augmentation or an extension of the team that can talk about a company's brand consistently across all communities and convey the culture, the brand, the things that make that organization different than other organizations, right? And then allow consumers to ask more conversational questions and learn from that. What are the consumers asking? Do we have the content to support that? Do we have the conversion mechanisms to support that? How do we help them? I think that's going to be really, really powerful. And I think AI, in my opinion, and this will also remain to be seen, it should be part of your suite of options. Not every person is comfortable using a chatbot and or AI. So how do we bridge that gap as the industry and our customers become more technologically open and savvy, to give them options to dabble in AI, but maybe AI isn't the end all right now. So we're really trying to build it in as an option to the navigator. And I think on the sales side, we always think about sales. I have a particular passion for that, but at the end of the day, because of the complexity of the sale, having the transcripts of those AI chat interactions in being able for those salespeople to hear as a file and see if they used voice, what was that transaction like, will be so incredibly powerful for senior living to help personalize that sale, because that consumer is going to ask what they're most concerned about or what they're most interested in. Do you have parking? You know, do you have wellness programs? Do you have a pool? Do you have a fitness center? Do you have dining? Right. So they will ask these questions openly, and then we can learn about what's most important to what these consumers, the older adults and their families, and what they're looking for. So I think AI is so promising for this space. I think if we do it carefully and we do it in a way that's gated and only accesses content from the specific provider themselves, so we can gate. And then the question would be is, how far do we educate before we convert? And I think that's always going to be the line of how do we take a consumer through an AI experience with a sales agent, give them enough information, but also help them convert into the sales funnel. Because, you know, why else would you do it, right? You really do want to convert people into the sales funnel. So if you guys are going to Smash, we'll be unveiling this and doing demos at Smash. But I think this is somewhat the future of personalization for senior living, with a combination of other things. I don't know, Shannon, if you have any thoughts on that, because we're kind of going over our time, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that for those that can stay.
Yeah, I'll try to talk quick for one time in my whole life. I do think, you know, a few years ago, we weren't interested in AI as an option for our chat because it sounded like AI, and we were losing, like, you lose people immediately if they feel like they're talking to a robot, because everyone wants to talk to a person, even though we don't want to talk to a person all the time. And one of the things, AI has come so far in a really short period of time.
Incredible.
And I think the one thing we have to do is, even if as an industry we exist behind the curve, we have got to accept that AI is coming, and we've got to learn how to use it smartly now, because it's going to advance beyond us and we're going to be totally lost in the space. But there's no doubt that it's coming, that it's here, that it is learning, and it is getting more efficient. And so it is up to us to figure out how to use it smartly, so that we stay with the group on one thing.
100%. Absolutely. So that's it, everybody. I mean, we'll stay on if you want to answer questions. I'm sorry we weren't a little bit more back and forth and in all of that, but there was a lot to cover. But feel free to stay on if you have any questions, and we will send out a recording of this as well if you'd like to share it with your teams or share it with other colleagues in the industry. So keep your eye out for that. So any questions at all? You got Shannon here. No. All right, I think we are, let me just see, let me check chat really quick to make sure there are any questions in there. Negative stigma paired with
Nope.
so many, oh, that was original. Okay, awesome. Okay,
Nope.
well, thanks, Shannon. I appreciate it. This was really great.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you all for, listening while I talked a lot. This was really great.
I thought there's some great stuff, so I really appreciate you taking the time, and as always, it was great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Stephanie says, great presentation. Thanks so much.
Oh, thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate that so much.
Girl after her own hearts.
That's right. Awesome. Okay, bye guys. Have a great day, everybody.